Andy, last weekend we played Clifton. We didn't get a point, but there were some positives in terms of Miles and performance of particular players.
Yeah, I said to the players after the game, I'll finish with a positive, but we were all pretty disappointed with the way we'd performed on Saturday. I felt that there are some good sides in this league. I wasn't, Clifton have been putting some good results together, but I think if we'd played like we did against Canterbury against them, we'd have given them a far tougher test, run for their money, and possibly even got a little bit more out of it. So it's disappointing that we hadn't risen to that level that we had against Canterbury. And to some extent, I felt it was one of the poorer performances, despite the fact we've conceded, 120, 108, 100. I just felt that, on the day, although we hadn't conceded that many points, we just hadn't performed. So that was a disappointment, really. And we spent a lot of this week trying to work out, what we need to do to get them to that level of arousal, I suppose, if is one way of putting it, but that they feel comfortable going out to the park. But the positive was Miles's debut in League Rugby. He had played the week before in the Cup and scored 5 tries, and obviously that was against a weaker Reading side than they would normally get put out. But it was now time to see what he was capable of in a league game, and he took his 2 tries very well, and obviously that's a positive. But really the thing that impressed me was his defensive display. He put in some fairly solid tackles early on. He covered back at least 2 or 3 times in the second half and stopped what could have been further tries. So his work rate was good, but as I say, when he had the opportunity to score his tries, he took them well. So I'm glad he's had a nice start to League Rugby and Senior Rugby.
Okay, and Paul Archer looked like he had quite a grim injury on Saturday. Can you update us on that?
Yeah, well, obviously he got stretchered off, taken off in ambulance to hospital, and the reason for that was to make sure that he, there were lots of signs that suggested he might have broken the bone at the top of his hip, his iliac crest as we call it, and we just wanted to make sure that hadn't happened. X-rays confirmed that it hadn't happened. He left hospital on crutches on Saturday, but by Sunday was beginning to hobble around without them. So there's no fracture. He's now walking around. Spoken to him today. He's coming down to train. He wants to be involved with the team on Saturday, not in a playing capacity, but certainly to help with all the organisation, which is good. And he's hopeful and confident that he's going to be available for next week. So a short-term thing that looks as if it might be a long-term one. But thankfully he's fine.
Okay, that's really good news. Get well soon, Paul. So this week we are going down to Worthing. Is that the first time we've played them?
First time we've played them, I should imagine, in any form. Certainly in League and certainly this season, because it's one of the games that was cancelled back in December. And so it's a rearranged fixture for us today, this weekend. So a little bit of unknown. Obviously, both sides will no doubt look at each other's form, and they've put in some fairly solid performances. They beat Taunton away the weekend after we played them down there. So they do travel well, and they're pretty solid on their own turf as well. So it's going to be a fairly tough examination with 2 or 3 old Newbury faces, which will also be there to greet us, no doubt.
Yes. How's the team looking then?
Yeah,
Saturday. You've got one together.
I've got one together. You've obviously just walked in as I was pulling my hair out for the nth time today. But somehow we've managed to get it together. And actually, on paper, it's not looking too bad. I'll probably sort of reel off a squad of forwards, which includes Tom Fiddler, Ali Widder, Luke Sawyer. We might have a look at Max in the front row, who played at Blindside last week. He can play in the front row, and that's where he's been playing predominantly recently, so we might have a look at him. But we've also got, obviously, Matt Holyland, Tom Sanders, and Nathan, who can cover us in the front rows as well. So and Fred Perkins. So we've got a number of front row options, which is good. Andy Cannock, Ben West, who played a full game for us on Saturday, and then went and played for Berkshire for a full game, Berkshire under-20s on Sunday. So that wasn't the plan. The injuries didn't allow for me to take him off at any time, but there is options for that this week. Hopefully Jack Taggart will have recovered from a small knock he got. Greg Price, Ollie Spanswick, Joe Carver would be others that come into the forward reckoning. And then in the backs, Andy Gale and Dominic, who made his debut. And we gave him a good period of time on the pitch. It's good that we've got another scrum half. Dan Thorne, Martin Freeman, Tala. Hopefully James Monger's recovered from illness and an injury. Miles, obviously. George Strand coming down from Leeds, which was the latest phone call of mercy to try and get him to get down, and that's great that he is. And then we have today just registered another young lad who's been playing at Overton with Miles, a guy called Jonathan Inglis. So he's only a young lad, but Mike Marchand knows him reasonably well and says that he is a good player, and so we'd like to get him involved. But obviously conscious of the fact that it's going to be a tough old game at Worthing. The last thing we want to do is chuck him into a lion's den too early. So they're the sort of options we've got, and we'll make those the final decisions tonight at training and see who's alive.
Okay, and finally, I think we've got news of who we're playing in the next round of the Berkshire Cup and when that is.
Yes, the draw was made towards the end of last week, and we have been drawn against Reading Enzians, who play in the next division below us. They beat Bracknell in their game by 2 points, 16-14, I believe. And we will obviously be trying to play that game as a midweek game so that neither side is having to play 2 games on 2 days. And we've gone for Tuesday, the 15th of March, which is the Tuesday after the England-Scotland game here. Obviously, we're very keen to rest this pitch now until that international game. And so by playing it that Tuesday, we're playing it after that. So the international will be on the Friday. We will play Jersey on the Saturday. Boys can have a rest for a couple of days and then take on Reading Enzians in the Cup. We still have restrictions in place that the competition imposed, and that is we'll only be allowed to play 10 players who have played more than 50% of our league games. So that, again, a bit like when we played Reading, a lot of sort of boxing clever from my point of view. And obviously I need the guys have already been asked to let me know how easy it will be for them to get back on a Tuesday night. But yes, that's what we've got.
Okay, great. So we'll hear a bit more from you on that match nearer the time.
Yeah.
Thanks.